Do not prescribe antidepressants like Smarties. Women aren't going crazy. What they need is their hormones back. Women feel like they lose themselves, they lose their self-confidence, and they lose their joy. I genuinely have patients who sit in my NHS practice with me who say, I literally don't recognize myself anymore. Oh my God, we're failing women.
What was the moment that you decided to kind of bring this online?
My sister was just like, I dare you to talk about vaginal dryness on TikTok. And I just thought, oh my God, that is literally my USP.
Before we get on to the brown vulva, let's just touch upon the gaslighting.
Today's guest, Dr. Nighat Arif.
I realised I think I've got PCOS. And I went to my doctor and she was just like, a lot of women in your culture have hairy faces. And then I went to my own gynecologist and she was like, yeah, you've got PCOS. I was a bit on a chunkier side and she just went, you're fat. I don't even have to look further for medical gaslighting and also medical misogyny and also medical racism because I'm in it. There'll be so many women who are like, yeah, I went to the doctor and had a similar conversation, or I put down my symptoms and the doctor just went, a lot of women feel like that. It's not a system that's set for women around women. Not only did we find that there are changes to the female brain, but the female brain is more neuroplastic than male brains. We don't give a shit anymore.
Such a good way to put it.
You know this phrase that they say, never cross a woman of a certain age? I hate that so much because it's steeped in misogyny. Women of a certain age are so kick-ass. Aren't they just utter queens? If you look at every NICE guideline for every health condition, the number one key thing is always going to be,
for the last 2 years, I have kept a secret from you, and it's this. It's my new book, Healthy Shouldn't Be This Hard. And I think it is a problem that we are all feeling. And I was feeling it so much that I wrote a book on it. Now, if you've been a guest of this podcast for a while, you know that I am all about kindness, self-compassion. But when I dug into the research of this, my mind exploded. The connection between the mind and body is so integral, but we completely miss out on all the conversations on health, on how we speak to ourselves. And that is such a driving factor on how our food responds to what we eat to, the choices that we make. And we are so overwhelmed right now in the $8.5 trillion industry that is the wellness industry, which is predicted to be by 2027. So if you need a helping hand, if you want a new way to live and be well, and buy my new book, Healthy Shouldn't Be This Hard, out on May the 28th, but you can pre-order it now. I'll pop the link below in the show notes, and I would love if you could support me on this, and I honestly think it will support you too. Nighat, welcome to Live Well, Be Well.
Oh, thank you. It's such a joy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here because I honestly believe every single GP surgery in the world needs you in it.
Oh, that's so kind. And that's actually really, my imposter syndrome goes crazy when I hear something like that, because that's actually not true.
It is true. It's true for women. Because, you know, obviously there needs to come a lot of empathy with women's health. Women's health is being talked about more than ever before, which is incredible. But you're a GP and you see so many people every single day, but you also speak up online about the inequalities, the misogyny, like everything surrounding women's health and what you stand for, and also where you believe treatment should go. So tell me, what was the moment that you decided to kind of bring this online and outside of the GP surgery? Was there something that hit you?
There were two moments. The first one was, it was a dare by my sister. The pandemic had hit and my sister was like stuck at home with me. She's a dentist, so she really couldn't see patients. We were all under lockdown. Everybody had to be masked. Our consultation had turned into video consultations and telephone consultations. And I was actually shielding with my son. My middle son has had a liver transplant, and I've spoken about that quite openly. And I'd started talking about liver transplants in my community, which is such a taboo topic, I realised later on, because the idea of donating your organs is something that was not in step with the Islamic beliefs. That is wrong. So there's a lot of misinformation about that. So I'd already sort of at a community level done a bit of that work with my community to say, actually, we need to think about organ donation. So under lockdown, in shielding with my sister, talking about women's health and menopause constantly on my consultations. And my sister was just like, I dare you to talk about vaginal dryness on TikTok. She wanted me to learn this terrible TikTok dance. And it was one of the weekend songs. And I can't remember that song now, but it was everywhere. And I just thought, oh my God, that is literally my USP. I will start talking about vaginal dryness. And I thought I will do it in Punjabi. I'm bilingual. I speak Punjabi, which is an overlap with Urdu and Hindi. So there's a huge South Asian population that will understand that dialect. And literally it started from there. being the conversation that came online. But actually, where it really, I would say, started my spark for women's health, because I have to be honest, I did not want to do women's health ever. My dream was to do medical school, come out as a junior doctor, and then become a gastroenterologist. I was going to be a hospital consultant, running down the corridor, having an air of authority about me. God, that went fast and very quickly. I did a bunch of nights and I was like, I'm not cut out for this. That's it. I realized when I looked at the life of a medical registrar, God love them, and the work that they do, I just thought, nah, that's not for me. I'm checking out. And so what ended up happening was I fell in love with general practice. One of my rotations that you end up doing as a junior doctor, when you're training, particularly they put you out into community medicine. And it was in community medicine that I fell in love with the variety. Everybody was different. I'll see from day one or naught all the way up to 100. And those patients that I saw in general practice, and I was working in Slough at the time, so again, a large Sikh South Asian population. And it was 3:00 in the morning. I was in A&E and this woman had come in and she was grabbing the side of the bed, palpitations, sweating. And her husband had accompanied her and he said, I don't understand, "Eh pagal hondi hai," which is translated as she's going mad. This woman was about 48 years old. She was what now older Nighat knows that she was having hot flushes and night sweats. We did a panel of bloods. My senior registrar was with me, who was also happened to be Pakistani at the time. And she says, run a set of bloods. All of these women come in A&E complaining of hot flushes and night sweats. And actually it's nothing. They're having a panic attack. Pack her up and send her home. This is not something that we need to deal with A&E. She was a little bit vitamin D deficient. So we told her take some vitamin D levels and take your tablets, etc. And it was only then, about a year later, I happened to be in the practice that patient was registered in. And it's weird how things come around. So I'm doing my general practice training, happy as Larry, thinking, thank God I'm not doing nights anymore. And this patient came round and she said, you were the doctor that I saw at 3:00 in the morning and I have got vitamin D tablets and I've been taking them for 6 months. Nothing is, kuch nahi badal diya, nothing is changing. I think that God has left my side and I just can't even pray hard enough to get better. And that's when I took a step back and I was just like, oh my God, we're failing women. What is it? What is she talking about? I don't get this, because all her bloods are normal.
Yeah.
She's still getting her period. She's 48 years old. She's got a good job. She's well educated. It's not even like English is not her first language. It is, but I speak Punjabi, she speaks Punjabi. She's able to converse with me in a dialect that she feels most comfortable. And yet I had no clue what she was talking about was perimenopausal symptoms. And that's where the penny dropped for me. And I went on this journey.
I mean, that's quite an emotional story to hear, actually, just because it's not even just that she felt that she was going mad, which is a very big form of how
but everybody around her thought she was.
Exactly.
Kept telling her that.
But also she felt like she was losing her faith.
Yeah.
That's like it's a double hit.
Women feel like they lose themselves, they lose their self-confidence, and they lose their joy. And I genuinely have patients who sit in my NHS practice with me who say, I literally don't recognize myself anymore. I used to be this vigarous person. Now I'm forgetful. I have brain fog. I'm irritable. I have so much rage I could strangle my other half, even though I'm besotted with my other half. I've genuinely had women who will come in and say to me in my NHS clinic practice that, sex is so difficult. It's an act of kindness to say to my husband, I'm happy for you to go and have an affair. Which, in other circumstances, this is a conversation that would be probably abhorrent in that relationship because they adore each other so much. And you've got the partner sitting there going, Leslie, I'm not going to have an affair. That is something I'm not going to do. I know that this isn't you, but this is really impacting our marriage. So the fact that relationships, careers, it's all encompassing is affected. That's what I think women, I feel, carry a lot of sadness.
Well, it's also the point where women now feel like they also have to do it all.
Yes.
At the same time. And so it's like a heavy load, be the the perfect wife and go back to work and help the household and do everything. And it's a lot. So I can't imagine how much that must take a toll on you every day. But what do you say to them? Like when they get to that wit's end, like what advice do you give women?
So the first thing is I'm always a glass half full person. I love it. I say, look, you've got to be able to say and rationalize that this is normal. So if we're thinking about the biological journey that we as women go through, we're born with the number of eggs that we have, and that's actually determined by our nan. So we're like Russian dolls amongst Russian dolls. Then we come out and we go through our puberty years. That's when we start our periods, and we've got estrogen, progesterone, a little bit of testosterone, that's up and down. And then we go on our fertility year journey. And it's actually much earlier than we think. We now know from data that possibly as early as about 38 to 40, that women start having a fluctuation of estrogen and progesterone. And the key thing that we always miss is about testosterone as well. And so this is a biological journey. If you face it, like we're not meant to be on God's green earth. We are mammals, we reproduce, and then we're meant to like piss off.
Yeah, and die.
But die.
Yeah.
Go away. Why are you here still on this earth? But we do. We stick around because we've got great healthcare, great public healthcare, great awareness, and also because we are resourceful as humans.
Yeah.
So perimenopause starts around the age of 40. You're having periods and hormonal fluctuations. And this is normal. We don't have a blood test for it. So even if your panels are normal, ignore it. You treat the patient in front of you and you follow their symptoms. And so we go through the symptom list and I say, look, we have solutions for this. And here is a sort of concoction of holistic things that we can do. And it's not a one size fits all. And I'll be your GP. I'll hold your hand and we'll find what works and tweak things along the way. And I think having a plan actually is just so reassuring, and that's lovely. And I tend to always have a plan.
Well, I also think that knowing that your life isn't going to be unhopeful going forward, you have solutions, it is really important. Like in any part of life, knowing that there's a solution to a problem is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. But do you get, and the reason why I said every GP surgery needs you in it, do you ever get them coming to see you saying, well, you know, my GP wouldn't prescribe me these solutions? I'm guessing like hormone replacement therapy, HRT is one of those solutions. And you said holistic, so there's lots of others. But do you ever get people coming to you and saying, well, I was just told that I was fine? Because I've had conversations with friends who have started the conversation, called me and said, what should I do? And I'm like, go and see your GP, talk through like what you're suffering with, and they'll be able to hopefully help you on that journey. And a lot of them have kind of been stopped at that first kind of moment. So if someone's listening to this and going, okay, well, that sounds great, but I did that and I was rejected or not given those options, like what do you say to those people?
I'm really hoping that that's not the case now, because of the amount of awareness and the content that we put out and the British Menopause Society puts out. I'm hoping that there's a lot of guidance that's going into general practice. The NICE guidelines, which is the National Institute of Clinical Excellence guidelines, they're the gold standard guidelines that we have in this country when we're practicing medicine in general practice. I'm really hoping that my colleagues are looking at them, because they were updated in November 2025 yet again, when we looked at what was going to happen in regards to management of perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms. I need to caveat the fact that we're talking about perimenopause as a normal biological journey, and our bodies are fantastic at adapting. So a lot of people, so if I had 4 women, so I have 4 of your mates, Sarah, who were sat with you over dinner. One would probably go, actually, I didn't notice anything. I had maybe a hot flush, or actually we know 20% of women don't get hot flushes. I probably had a few sort of brain foggy moments. My periods went out of kilter and then they just completely stopped. I'll have 2 out of 4 who will have a whole load of whole body symptoms. So self-esteem, confidence, tinnitus. We know from data that Turkish women, or those the communities who have a lot of oral symptoms, can be affected. So like a metallic taste. And we tend to see that in like data, I think in the Middle Eastern countries as well. We also know from the SWAN study that was updated in 2022, Black and Asian women go through their perimenopausal journey 2 to 5 years earlier as well. So we can't say 45 is now too young, because that's where I now have started saying 40, because being a South Asian Punjabi woman, I know that my changes have started to happen a lot earlier than what the textbooks have historically said. Also, alongside that, it's like your hair, your skin will all become affected, and your body's built to survive that. I just need everybody to know it is a normal transition. Your body will literally adapt and make your hormones elsewhere. So a solution such as HRT is not for everybody. And I say that as someone who prescribes HRT. I also need to caveat the fact that there is a group of people who go through their menopausal journey earlier. The youngest I'm looking after is she's now 18 years old, and she has got premature ovarian insufficiency, which we used to think was 1 in 100 women below the age of 40. I actually think it's more than that. I think it's probably 2 to 3 in 100 who will go through their biological journey early. And that's essentially, so POI is when your ovaries stop functioning, and we think that there are probably genetic factors to that, which pushes you into an early menopause. That doesn't mean that you can't fall pregnant. That's a whole different conversation that we have with women who are picked up early, or girls, actually, young women who are picked up early. I originally looked after this patient when she was 15 years old, and she came in with like extensive hot flushes and night sweats, and we did all her bloods, and we found out that her follicle stimulating hormone was really high. So she's being managed by a specialist. Then we get a group of people who are surgical menopause. Surgical menopause is when your ovaries are taken out because of a procedure that you had to have, all for the right reasons. But by taking out your ovaries, that means that we've pushed you into surgical menopause. And the youngest I'm looking after in my NHS clinic at the moment is 28 years old. She had, she won't mind me saying this because I often talk about her. She's had huge uterine fibroids and endometriosis all wrapped around her womb and her bowel.
Ooh.
And it was decided then, actually, she'd done with her family and she'd got 2 beautiful children, and it was time to stop the pain and stop the horrific, debilitating symptoms that she was having. So she's had her ovaries and her womb removed at the age of 28. So now she's in surgical menopause. And those patients have their own guidelines, and they must have hormone replacement therapy, as POI must have hormone replacement therapy. Then we got a group of women who are, say, chemical menopause. And these are individuals who might have had hormonal treatments, but typically gonadotrophin-releasing hormones, GnRH. And these are medications which basically switch off your ovaries from working for a little while. So classically, we'll see this in treatments, say, PMDD, or women who've had breast cancer, and they need to switch off their estrogen receptors. And so we give them some medication to do that. And that, again, puts them into like a false early menopause as well. And as you know, breast cancer is getting younger and younger. So it's really important that I need to, for this podcast in particular, to those listening, is to say I'm talking about what the normal biological journey is, which is perimenopause. But I'm not discounting the fact that menopause means different things to different people. And we have specific guidelines for individuals who have the subsections and the ways that we manage that. But if you're looking at your mates who are sitting with you going, I've gone to the doctor and they've said everything's normal, you need to always be making sure that you're tracking your symptoms and having a symptom diary, which I know that you advocate for a lot. And it's always about ruling out other diagnoses. The symptoms of perimenopause and menopause overlap with a whole load of different conditions. Underactive thyroid, anemia typically, can also psychological symptoms, so stress and anxiety throughout your whole day as well. Can also overlap with vitamin D and vitamin B deficiencies as well. I see that. Liver conditions, so a whole gambit of stuff, to all the way up to, God forbid, cancers, which I'm constantly worried about with my patients. So it's about having a symptom diary, knowing what's your normal, and then even if bloods are normal, going, I will still pursue this diagnosis and see what else we can rule in or rule out. And that, is a good doctor.
I attended TED earlier this year, and I found myself in conversations with the founders of No Watch. You've probably seen me wear something on my wrist, and lots of you have messaged me asking me what this is. It looks like a classic watch, but it's actually quietly tracking something much more meaningful: your autonomic nervous system. This is the system that governs everything from how you respond, from excitement to anxiety, calm to overwhelm. Most wearables just give you a score, but if you're anything like me, that score can sometimes make you feel worse, like you're already behind before your day even begins. No watch works differently. There is no judgment and there is no dopamine chasing dashboard. It simply reflects what your body is already experiencing and also helps you notice what it might be missing. It gives you minute-by-minute timeline of your stress responses and your recovery. The recovery is the most important part and is the part that no one talks about. And it is often the most revealing marker of our long-term health. In just 5 days, it calibrates to your body and it builds your personal health fingerprint. You can try for free now for 30 days. And if you use the code LWBW, you can also get 15% off. If you want to understand your body, not just through performance, but through self-awareness, then this is where I'd begin. Yeah. I also think when it's an empathetic doctor as well, which I know that you have so much, just even hearing you speak about this, I think so many women are going to feel heard. And I think touching on this before we go into kind of more of the symptomology, and I know there's a round ball here in the shape of a vagina that
wait to show it to you.
I can't wait. I'm looking at it going, we need to get to this conversation.
Colour.
And it's colour.
And it's of colour.
That's such a good point.
How often do you see a brown vulva?
Never. Well, I mean, if I was brown, I'd say every day, but I'm not. So, but you do every day.
Every day. And I'm very happy with my brown vulva. Actually, I see all different colours of vulvas.
You know that's going to be a short. No, so before we get on to the brown vulva, which I'm very excited to kind of dissect with you, which actually isn't the first one we've had on. This is the second one.
Wowzers.
And it was brown. So you know. Maybe we should have these back to back because they're two very important episodes on women's health. But before I do, let's just touch upon the gaslighting. Because how long have you been a GP for now?
Now you're asking me. This is making me feel so. In August this year, it will be 19 years service in the NHS. And I've been a GP for, my son is now 15, so 14 years as a GP.
Patty, just thank you.
Oh, that's
for
so
supporting
kind.
the NHS and supporting public health and supporting so many people, not just women, men and women, but also highlighting women. In that time, I mean, obviously social media in the last kind of 4 years, you've also elevated this message more so. But talk to me a bit about the gaslighting, the misogyny, this space, because I think many people have been scared to speak out about this for maybe the risk of their job, and also hush hush, this probably shouldn't be spoken out about. And I just have so much admiration that you are strong enough to do this. It is amazing. I know you probably don't think it is, but it is. Not many people do it. And two, I think maybe people who aren't in the system might not be aware that this is even a thing and happening. So I'd love for you to tell us, what the landscape is.
When I was training, I have to be honest, I didn't know that medical gaslighting and medical misogyny was a thing.
Yeah.
And I trained not too far from here where we're sitting, so Barts in London, and spent 5 years doing my medical degree, just learning. And like I say, my mindset was I'm going to do gastroenterology. And I hadn't realized that the curriculum is set out in systems. And it's just oh yeah, but the female body is a bit like male bodies, but just has boobs and a vagina and that's it, and has a womb as well. It was always added on. So you do the systems of, say, neurology, added on a little bit of women's health at the bottom. It was cardiology. So you learn about the heart, added on a little bit about, okay, maybe women have a few different symptoms. And it's only as I went through my training, and then I had lots of varied symptoms that I put down to PCOS. And I realized, I think I've got PCOS. And I went to my doctor, and she was just yeah, but a lot of women in your culture have hairy faces because you're South Asian. So that was the first thing. And you're just
Did you say that? I mean, I just sat back when you said that.
I know. And it's really cute that you, no, not cute. I apologize. I said that. I think it shows you who has got such emotional intelligence to make that sort of face. At that time, I accepted it because there was no term as gaslighting. There was no term as medical racism or systemic racism in medicine. It just wasn't a thing at all. So I just looked around at all the women in my family, my mother, and I was like, yeah, we're actually quite hairy. We've got lots of bum fluff and hairy backs and acne, and the hair falls out. And then I went to my own like gynecologist, got tests, etc. And she was like, yeah, you've got cysts in the ovaries, your hormone profile, you've got PCOS. I was a bit on a chunkier side. And she just went, you're fat. You need to lose a bit of weight.
She didn't.
Yeah. There's no cure for PCOS, which is true. And I was like, but I'm really struggling to lose weight. And she went, yeah, but you just need to eat better and lose weight. And I was like, but how do I do that? And she goes, well, you just need to eat less. And I said, but I can't eat less because you just told me that my hormones from my PCOS will make it harder for me to lose weight. She went, yeah, but you're fat, so you just need to eat less. So we went round in this consultation. So I left that consultation, and bearing in mind, you know, I've got a brain and I'm sort of on my journey to becoming a medical student at this time and within my training. And I put it to the back of my mind, and it's sort of something that I manage, and I restricted my diet. So I don't even have to look further for medical gaslighting and also medical misogyny and also medical racism, because
you're in it.
I'm in it. And I guarantee anyone listening to this podcast, there'll be so many women who are like, yeah, I went to the doctor and had a similar conversation, or I put down my symptoms and the doctor just went, a lot of women feel like that. Yeah, you just have to put up and grin and bear it. And then the other thing was that I then, many years ago down the line, as the other bit of my training was I was doing gynecology, and I sat in a consulting room. So the hierarchy in medicine is such that you have the consultant, you have the nurse, but you have like registrars and SHOs. So I'm like the bottom of the bottom. I'm like scraping the floor at this stage of my training. And a woman comes in, and she'd gone through quite a few consultations. She brought up the courage, and she goes to the consultant. Sex is really painful. And I'm like, I don't know who to discuss this with, but it's really affecting my marriage. And he just went, have 2 glasses of wine, love. It'll be fine. A lot of women at your age feel like this. And this is a woman who's like in her 50s.
That's awful.
It's awful. So I'm a witness to it. The biggest issue comes is when you call it out. And when you call it out and you put your head above the parapet, it is so freaking hard. Like, I'm not like anyone who is in this space who talks about it. I commend them, because I've been at the coal face, but I've been at the blunt end of, or the sharp end, I should say, of people who are not happy with me. And I know people aren't happy with me, but you can only change a system if you stay within it, because fundamentally, I believe the NHS is an incredible system. I will continue to work for the NHS. I love working for it. It saved my son's life. It birthed my 3 children with me in the NHS. So it works beautifully. But it's not a system that's set for women around women. It's set for the male bodies. And then it's just like, oh yeah, but women just need to scatter around. Then came Tony Blair, if you remember Tony Blair.
Oh yeah, I remember Tony Blair.
He was like, we're going to get GPs to become specialists, as known as gypsies. So GPs with specialist interests. And that is the acronym that we used. And I cottoned onto it. I was in general practice at the time, and I was having consultations with women going, oh, I don't think HRT is great for you because of breast cancer. There's a WHI study that's come out, and now we know that's fundamentally flawed. So all of these little bits along my journey as a clinician were stacking up, going, God, it's horrible being a woman. Like we are born in pain. We have pain with our periods. We have pain with breastfeeding. We have pain with birth. And then now we come to no periods, and people are going, here's a bit of antidepressants, love.
And 2 glasses of wine.
And 2 glasses. Lie back and think of England. And he was just like, what? Like, am I going crazy? Is there something that I should be doing and changing this? And I thought, hang on, mate, I'll be perimenopausal at some stage. And then I'm going to sit in front of a doctor who, bless his cotton socks, will be exactly the same as me with having no knowledge about this. And the first step is without shame and taboo going, I don't know enough about this. Please teach me. And I was so lucky that I had a brilliant GP trainer who did women's health. She inserted coils. She was pro HRT at a time when it wasn't, and everybody was scaring women about breast cancer. She was like, look, I know that there's risks, but look at the study. So we went through the study, and she encouraged me and said, do not prescribe antidepressants like Smarties. Women aren't going crazy. What they need is their hormones back. And that confidence just over time grew. And that's what came out on social media. I think also you can tell someone who does this day in, day out when they're talking about something on social media. And if it's something that they don't do every day and they're not seeing real life patients, you can actually work out that that's a bit of bullshit there. But I think you can. And I very much stick to my area of expertise. I'm a generalist, a jack of all trades, master of absolutely nothing. But the area that I have a great passion about and I work in, and I do a lot of clinical work in that because I'm physically touching patients, seeing patients, looking at vulvas. The amount of boobs I touch, I won't let you know. And it's a great privilege that women have that comfort to be able to allow me to do that. But it's you can then tell that someone is really advocating for their patients. And that is a role that I think we need to come back to. So I constantly say to my friends, my GP colleagues, the role of a doctor is literally just to be an advocate for the patient. I will not cure them. I will not fix them, but to hold their hand and go, I'm here for you. I'm going to back you to the hilt. And if something doesn't feel right for you, that's all I need to start investigating. And my GP trainer, who's this amazing woman, I should name her, Viv Carter, Dr. Viv Carter, if you're watching, she said to me, really, I did a home visit and she was just like, you get 10 minutes in a patient's life. That's a privilege because that person tells you and pours out their soul to you. And there's no holds bar between a doctor-patient relationship and everything remains confidential. So patients do come out and tell you everything. And I'm really nosy. I'm like, who are you having an affair with? That's a good GP who asks you that. No, jokes aside. But she was like, you are literally a guest in a patient's life. So just like you'd go into a home and be a guest and take off your shoes and be respectful, that's how you need to be. And that's really something that stuck with me. And I continue to do that and then be that advocate so I can talk about medical gaslighting and I can talk about medical misogyny and medical racism because it happens. Now we've got terms to express that because we've got the lexicon. And so what we need to do is just say, look, I validate your medical gaslighting. I validate it.
Wow.
Because I see it. And that, I think, is the biggest step forward. Because once you get validation, you can move forward to go, right, without shame, how can we fix this problem? And that's where I am.
I want to talk about something important to you guys. People today are lonelier than ever. Most long-term relationships aren't happy ones. And a third of people under 30 haven't had sex in the past year. Sexual issues among young people have surged over 3,000%. But what most people miss, the vast majority of relationships and intimacy struggles aren't physical problems. They're psychological. And yet most people never get traditional therapy because it feels awkward, expensive, or just impossible to access. So much about Live Well, Be Well's mission is aimed to reduce stigma around health and help us understand ourselves better. And that is exactly why I wanted to tell you about Mojo, an app for dating, sex, and relationships that I am genuinely excited to tell you about. They have partnered with the world's leading experts in sexology, including some that you'll actually hear on this podcast, to create expert-led courses. Now, their AI personalizes everything to your specific situation, so you can work through it privately at home and on your own time. Suffering in silence doesn't help anyone. And I don't say this lightly, because I've believed in Mojo so much that I've personally invested in the company. Now, if any of this resonates, go to mymojo.com/livewellbewell and use the code LiveWell15 for 15% off. Our sexual well-being matters and everyone deserves support.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I mean, you keep having massive imposter syndrome saying I'm a jack of all trades and master of none, but you're such a master of being able to see people. Like, that is an amazing gift. And I think sometimes, and I get it, people are stuck on a conveyor belt, they're stressed, the system's broken, they're trying to do their best. But you sound like you really see people. That's an amazing strength. And that's actually what's the biggest thing within medicine, because we can give all the knowledge that we get, but if we don't emotionally connect to a patient or someone doesn't emotionally connect to this podcast listening, it's just going to go over their head.
One of the things is I'm dyslexic. So we talked about that as we
just
started
before we sat down.
And I can't see numbers, but I see humans, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I can see, it's really lovely that you said that, actually. And that's the first time I think I've ever reflected on that. So thank you. And I think that for me, Because I'm dyslexic, I can't see words and I can't see numbers. So data, etc., which is why, like, I'm amazed that I'm a doctor. And
I'm not.
No, but I do see it as my superpower because I can read stuff and distill it to the most common denominator in my head and go, right, now I can relay this to a patient. And if I understand it, then the patient understands it, which is why I never went into research. Academics scare me.
Yeah.
So much.
Well, when I sat down to you, I said, how did you get through biochem? Because I struggled with that.
I struggled.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah.
I think I probably fibbed it. Don't tell my lecturers that.
I mean, I had to really remember, but it was just, everything felt backwards. But I remember when I finished, my degree and going, okay, I have all this knowledge, but if someone comes and see me, what do I do with it? And that's the magic that you have, is that you take things, you distill them into really simple ways for someone sat in front of you and you see the person. You actually help that person. Yeah. That's like the biggest route to entry in medical healthcare that I think that we need.
And I think that's where we lose it, because we're such different personalities in medicine. And over the years, my colleagues won't mind me saying this, I have some colleagues who are brilliant academics, but I'd be like, their bedside manner isn't great. Or they are brilliant bedside manner, but I'd be like, they don't read the data and the research, or they're not up to date yet. And I think that's where it comes when you're a GP, because the whole idea is, like I say, I'm a jack of all trades. I sometimes need to refer out to specialists. So you sort of, I would say, collect geniuses along the way. And I've collected so many geniuses. It's such a privilege that I've got and social media has really helped with that along the way. So I've got fantastic pelvic health physios, fantastic nutritionists. I've got amazing colleagues who do holistic care, acupuncture, reflexology. The Reiki, I know people are going to go, Reiki? I mean, really?
No, I love Reiki.
I love it. Oh my God, thank God for that.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. I'm probably like the only GP that's always banging on about sort of, complementary therapy. And I think that's the bit that we're losing in Western medicine.
Yeah.
Because in my house, I grew up with grandparents, my grandmother, that knowledge of our ancestors is so instilled in my mother, and then my mother passed it on to me. So when I had my babies, my grandmother, my nanny, my nanny, so my mum's mum, God rest her soul, she's not with us anymore. She phoned my mother from Pakistan and said, Nighat needs all of this. And there's something called panjiri, which is this concoction of butter and nuts and all the good stuff, seaweed. It's like amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. Iodine. It's brilliant.
And you look at that and you think, gosh, it is like a village to raise a child. And so, but not just that, to manage your afterbirth as well. And I stayed at my mum's house for 3 months afterwards. My sister, my brothers. I mean, we're by no means living in a mansion or anything, but it was, even though I'm a doctor, I had that level of support, which I'm ever so grateful for, that privilege to be able to have that. And I think that's the bit that we're missing. We're missing what our ancestors handed down to us. My mother's banging on about turmeric. Now you get like ginger shots.
Yeah.
I'm like, my nanny said that like decades ago.
And I bet that
turmeric is now suddenly having a moment. And you're like, what? Haldi is something we put in everything.
Exactly. Well, I cook with so many spices and herbs. But the thing is, when you're cooking from kind of any ancestor, they're actually making it with their hands, whereas sadly what you buy in the shops is like 1% ginger and 99% apple juice.
Yeah. And that's the scary bit. We've become so removed from our roots and that real ground experience and that knowledge, and we've put so much emphasis on Western medicine. So when you said you like Reiki, I was like, great,
I love it.
We're going to be mates.
We are. I knew that moment that I sat on that panel with you. I was like, this woman is like a beast, and I love her. She stands for what she believes in with the most empathetic way, which is so hard to be empathetic but stand for what you believe in. Like, it's a very hard mix, and you do it so beautifully. And that whole room that we were, just for people that we did a talk in Waterstones, there was like 50 women.
Yeah.
And I actually felt really sad when I left that panel, because so many women felt confused or ashamed, or like they were let down, or they weren't as full as abundance of knowledge as someone else they knew. And I was like, we really need to empower women that they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, for those listening to the podcast, it was Millie Hill's book, Unprocessed Women, and it was looking at the nutrition of how the ultra-processed women, not unprocessed, ultra-processed women. And it was looking at how the ultra-processed food conversation actually isn't possibly relevant to female bodies. And so she went on her own exploration. Fantastic book.
Yeah.
Really
She's been
worth
on the
reading.
podcast.
Really worth reading. And I really read that cover to cover before I came on the panel, because I knew I'd have geniuses and experts on the panel with me, because when it comes to general practice, nutrition isn't something that we focus on. We are very much part of the medical program and the medical treatments and prescribing and knowing what to give, when to give, what tests to do. But if you look at every NICE guideline for every health condition, the number one key thing is always going to be nutrition and lifestyle. First line is always going to be diet, nutrition. So we're talking about, perimenopausal symptoms. So the management of that, actually, even before HRT comes into conversation, is how much alcohol are you drinking? How much are you smoking? What is your stress levels like? How much sleep are you getting? We talked about sleep a lot. What are you actually putting on your plate and then putting in your mouth? Are you having screen time, which we talked about as well, the distractions that we get, mindless eating that we're doing at the same time? Or are you having an argument with somebody, so your cortisol is going sky high while you're trying to eat something, and all that's doing is pushing your insulin resistance? And then actually the food that you're looking at, do you know if it's ultra processed? Is it just a little bit processed? So she brought out these little jars, didn't she?
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was amazing as an example. And it's really refreshing, actually, you said that, because you left quite sad. I left quite happy.
Did you?
I was thinking, this is good, because actually we're at a phase where we're having these conversations. I left empowered, going, I can only go up from here, because we're down here. We can only go up. See, this is me.
This is the glass half full.
full.
I think my thing was, I didn't feel that women were asking it from empowerment. I felt that they were already depleted, that they were already behind. And that made me feel sad, where I was like, no, actually, with the resources you have, you're doing really well. And the fact that everyone went to this panel, for me, showed a massive commitment to want to educate themselves and be involved and be around other women. So already, for me, they've got like this huge tick, because they're being active in their choices of where to spend their time. But then the questions they were asking me was, it all felt like they weren't doing enough. And that's when I felt sad, because I was like, no, that's when I brought self-compassion into the conversation, because I was like, you've got to have self-compassion for everything that you're going through, and you're doing the right things.
And that's the bit that really, maybe that's why I left I'm just thinking back, that's why I left so happy, because it was about self-compassion, but also we talked about mental load a lot, that 90% of household groceries are bought by women, right? And it's something, there's a ridiculous figure from the Fawcett study, that's a society, that shows that 95% of finances and the household bills are even looked after by women, which I didn't think that. Growing up, it was always dad that had the money, but actually the purse strings were controlled by my mother.
Yeah.
So, and I'm probably exactly the same as well. And I should just caveat, God love her, I love my mother so much, but she never went past grade 5 at school in Pakistan. And so then to be handed over the household purse and the strings to that is just utterly amazing. And she managed to have 5 kids and run a household with it. And for me, I left with the fact that the mental load that women carry is so important to share that, because a lot of it was the unit of, okay, what are the men in the family? What are the fathers doing with their children? What are we thinking about in regards to soil to plate? I've forgotten that lovely lady's name, Catherine, I think it was, from Soil Association, saying this is what happens from the soil right up to the plate. And I just thought to myself, this is the stuff, those basic stuff from our ancestors, and we're just coming back to it. And we're having those conversations again, because we've realized rooted in that is self-compassion, is empathy, taking the load off so that other people can do it. And it's not just the woman's job to worry about what goes on the plate.
No, because now women have to do so much.
Yeah, I'm in that sandwich generation.
Yeah.
I'm 42 years old. I'm a perimenopausal woman. I've got a 15-year-old teenager at home, and I've got parents who are now in their 60s and 70s. So I'm pulled in both directions, and they're all... I will not lie, even this morning, I had to tell my parents off like they were children before coming here.
You see, it flipped, the roles reversed.
So flipped.
Well, I spoke to Paul Donald on this podcast years ago. He's like a researcher of happiness at UCL. And he was like, you know, there's this bell curve that happens where the most unhappiest part of your life is in your midlife, because everything becomes more chaotic. You know, you've got children that are growing up. You're finally getting to that part of your career. So there's more pressure. You've got aging parents. You didn't mention about women also going through perimenopause. That's also another added layer. I mean, you're literally juggling. And then when you get out the other side around 60 plus, the happiness curve starts to go up because your parents, you know, might have passed and you've gone through that phase and your kids have got older and you've got less responsibility and you've got to a part in your work where you maybe feel like, okay, I've done the hard labor now and it's less about the grind. It's like, just don't think about that. I never think about that.
I want to caveat that because I've been looking at brain data for women who are postmenopausal, and the research, Dr. Mosconi, if anybody follows her, follow her work. Oh my gosh, she's incredible. She's amazing. And Professor Mackey as well. You know, Marie Claire Havers, there's Dr. Karen Tang, Dr. Louise Newson. There's a lot of doctors that, you know, we follow, etc. And everybody's got their own nuances and understanding. But what Lisa's been doing is she's been looking at MRI scans of the brain, and she's been looking at sort of women who went through early menopausal symptoms. Not only did we find that there are changes to the female brain, and I think we've got to caveat that with the fact that we are living in an age now where we have to think about dementia care from birth, not just dementia care later on in life. So level of education, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes. But the female brain is more neuroplastic than male brains. And I know you've done an episode on this. And
it's Dr. Sarah McKay.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, oh God, Sarah's an angel. She's a dear friend. And so the neuroplasticity of our brain means that as we go through midlife, and our parents probably have passed on, but we get into our postmenopausal phase, the new neurons that we're forming because of that neuroplasticity, it's just, we don't give a shit anymore. Like,
such a good way to put it.
It's so true, right? Yeah. It's like our brain literally rewires and the hormones settle down, and we've gone through the rocky phase of our perimenopause, and now our periods are completely stopped. And they, you know, this phrase that they say, never cross a woman of a certain age. I hate that so much because it's steeped in misogyny. But also, it is sort of right, because women of a certain age are so kick-ass.
Yeah, it's true.
Aren't they just utter queens?
Yeah.
I just adore them so much. And I could be totally surrounded by them for a whole day, because they've got to a point where stuff that I used to get hung up about, like, oh my God, my hijab's not falling right. I'm like, stop it.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The stuff that you would think about what people thought about your confidence and self-esteem and all of that just completely goes out the window. There's a great book that says that when I'm in my 70s, I'm going to dye my hair purple, and it's a phenomenon that women do this, and I think that, you know, they get tattoos and start becoming bikers.
Please, can you do that?
Oh my God, I would like if I got a tattoo, I think my mother would kill me first, but
mine would too.
But there is real neurological, biological science to show that the female brain is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
That neuroplasticity means that actually, instead of being scared of the postmenopausal years, which we're in for the rest of our life, I'm glass half full. Let's embrace that.
When I did that episode with Dr. Sarah McKay, she flew to London. She just on the Mel Robbins podcast, and then she came and did mine. And I sat there and I was thinking, I feel like I'm going to feel really low after this episode on menopause. And it was one of the highest episodes I've ever done, because she just she reframed how I saw approaching all of this, which is ahead of me. And my sister is 8 years older, so she's like shared a lot of her journey with me. And I have a lot of friends that are 10 years older than me. So I'm always like talking to people about like what their journey is, and also wanting my friends to share in their own friendship group, so you don't feel so alone. And when I spoke to Dr. Sarah McKay, she was like, no, this isn't a depressing symptom. Like, your brain is going to change, but it's also going to be sometimes for the better, and you're going to be more stronger. And I was thinking about people that go through like really hard times in their life. It's really shit. Like when you're going through, maybe you've got PTSD, maybe we're going through something horrific. Sometimes, in the majority, you can come out even stronger, and you can be an even better person, because your brain, the resilience that you have formed during that really hard time, has actually made you into this, like, I don't give a shit anymore when this stuff. I was like, I just don't care. And I think that's kind of what women go through. We just go through so much, and our brains are literally wired to go, do you know what? You've got this.
Yeah. because I'm 42, my thing is that I look at like 20-year-old and 30-year-old Nighat and I reflect back and I'm like, the sort of damn care attitude I have now, oh God, I wish I had it in my 20s. And, you know, and I think that's where I keep coming back to, like, don't be scared of getting older in your 20s. I mean, I get 20-year-olds who are going, I've had Botox. I'm like, what? Because the aging thing is so,
social media.
Fear of getting old, you know, FOGO. That's is it FOGO?
It's terrifying.
It's a similar to FOMO, but yeah, similar to that. And I just think, actually, no, it's such a blessing to age and age well.
Helen Mirren.
Look at her. I mean, isn't she just a queen? And
she's amazing,
utterly gorgeous. And we've got so many examples of women who are embracing it. And even really, really quickly, sidebar conversation. But Hamnet, everyone, I haven't seen it yet, but they were talking about Jessie Buckley, the actress. And she's had nothing done to her face. And they were like, you could actually see her frown lines. I mean, that's actually
terrible.
It's terrible. Like, how did we get to a point where it was, you have to airbrush everything out? And I think we're coming back to the fact that whatever you look like, however you present yourself, if you're confident, those hang-ups just can get in the bin. Those are the things that I wish I could have passed on to sort of 30 and 40-year-olds. And so it's great that we're having these conversations about women's health and perimenopause so openly on social media.
Well, I think that is like, it's such a big thing. Like, this podcast has changed my life. For 5 years, I've been speaking to 3 people a week about all different topics of health. And then you speak more off air. And then people write into you and tell you their experiences. And you actually just feel so much more less alone. And you feel so much more normal than actually thinking, what is this that I'm going through? Whatever it is, whether it's emotional, physical, like being able to share stories, I think is one of the most powerful things.
Yeah. I know people downplay social media and say, oh, you shouldn't Google this. But I've lived through as a clinician, when I was a very, very baby doctor, I would get a patient coming and waving a Daily Mail article in front of me or Good Housekeeping magazine and going, I read this. And, you know, do you think my symptoms could be vitamin D deficiency or could it be a thyroid condition? And I'll be like, yeah, okay. And there were genuinely colleagues who'd be like, thank you so much. We're not going to look at that today, Roger. We're going to look at this. And that's awful. That's not a good consultation. And then I've gone through Dr. Google. I Googled this today and they Google stuff told me this and I'm going to die tomorrow. So I've gone through that phase. And now I'm going through the age of AI where I've got like Grok and ChatGPT who are much better clinicians than I am, having never laid a hand on a patient, but apparently much better than me. And it's as good as what information you put into it. And don't get me wrong, actually, some of the information that the AI tech is bringing back is pretty solid.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think that is so important, what you've just said, is validation. I think social media, having these conversations, having these podcasts, validates a lot of people. Like your listeners probably are going, oh gosh, I'm exactly like that with my mother.
Yeah.
Like that. My kids are like this. And I think that when you realize that we're all human, we're going through, regardless of your race, your class, your creed, your upbringing, your background, your religion, your faith, sexuality, whatever bracket or intersectionality you want to put someone in, we are at the bare bones of it, because I see it, is we're blood. We're the same blood, we have exactly the same color, we are absolutely the same underneath all that skin tone. Everything else is just aesthetics, and getting that validation makes you feel so less alone. And that is the one thing I am actually really grateful for social media for, that validation now, that people aren't suffering in silence. I mean, we could still do better. We need to tackle misinformation. I totally get it. But I'm in one of those group of doctors that I'm not against people Googling their stuff as long as they double check it with a credible source.
Well, that's the thing, right? It takes you one step closer to feeling, because a lot of people feel like, oh, maybe this isn't anything and I won't go and do anything about it. And that can also be a friction, right? To getting people just sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
If they can go, oh, actually, well, this is telling me that potentially these could be symptoms of something, then you're more likely to go and see your doctor. And it could not be what Google's telling you, but at least you've got you in front of a doctor.
But also, because people are sharing their symptoms, we as clinicians, or those that are listening, or that should be listening to those, you know, the symptoms that they're reading, as a clinician, I think it's a duty of care to know what my patients are consuming. So I need to be on that platform for misinformation. But also, because patients are sharing, so for example, I followed some great accounts and they're like, this is what my skin looks like. I don't have all the reference points of what skin stuff looks like on different skin tones. Because when I was at medical school, it was always line drawings or white skin. So now there's great clinicians who are posting about, actually, because that's the breadth of patients that they see. So actually it's becoming a learning tool for us. I have vulval lichen sclerosis, and I got my diagnosis in my 40s because I had a biopsy, and it's taken me a long time to openly talk about it because it is quite an embarrassing thing. So vulval lichen sclerosis is a lifelong chronic inflammatory skin condition, and it's similar to, not exactly the same, to say eczema.
Yeah.
And so, but you get it around the vulva. Did I find any pictures, even though I'm a clinician, of what it looked like on brown skin? No. So I would repeatedly go back, and I genuinely thought that having the discharge that I did was normal. And now I've had treatment and I'm on vaginal estrogen as well. I spoke to my colleague who's also a vulval specialist, and I said to her, God love her, she's amazing. She's Elaine Palmer, you need to follow her, she's amazing. And I said to her, Elaine, I thought this was normal. Like using a panty liner every day was just, regardless of whether you're on your period or not, or thin one, was something that was normal. And she was like, no. And I was like, but I would repeatedly go back and I'd either be told, this is normal, it's okay, get an STD check. And you're like, but I've never been with anybody other than my lovely husband. And it's just every STD test, you still have it though, don't you? Just to be sure. And they're all normal. Nothing ever used to come back with something, and they'll be just like, we don't know what to shrug your shoulders. And how many women will relate to that?
And also, just to say, you're also a GP feeling this. You're like one of the most informed people out there.
Yeah. But I didn't know what it looked like on brown skin.
Wow. What is the difference between?
Yeah. So vulval lichen
white and brown
sclerosis, you'll
skin?
get different things. So you can get thickening, which is much harder to see on, say, darker skin. Also, you can get these white patches, but actually on darker skin, they might appear pale. You can get these red patches, which might not be seen on darker skin as well. Okay,
because the melanin's so much higher.
Exactly. And then, but you do get symptoms. So itching, high vaginal discharge as well, which is one of the symptoms, recurrent urinary tract symptoms. So I sometimes say to like the list is, it's not an actual UTI. We dip your urine and it's not a urine infection, and your urine just feels spicy. The symptoms get slightly worse a week to 10 days before your period, because we think there's a hormonal picture, because your immune system uses estrogen to look after itself and to replenish, and your vulval vagina has its own microbiome. There's a whole episode we could do about the microbiome.
Amazing.
But the microbiome is incredible because it's what keeps all those good and bad bacteria in our vulva and vagina, and the acidity and the pH of it at a reasonable level. And it's a condition which can be sort of worse when you're younger. It appears from just like eczema when you're young. So the youngest I've diagnosed is about 4 years old, and she came in because her mum said that at school she would sit on the carpet and scratch herself using the carpet. And everybody thought that she had behavioural issues, bless her.
Or worms,
exactly. So treated for worms, and then that got better, and that's not worms now anymore. And then it goes away. So as soon as your period starts, as your estrogen increases, because I say estrogen is like this lubricating hormone, then your symptoms go away. And then you might notice some symptoms after birth. So I used to get florid thrush at the last couple of months of my pregnancy, like to the point it was just this constant itch and I couldn't get it down. We'd swab it and it's thrush, and they would give me some thrush treatment and it would work. And it's because Canesten has a little bit of steroids in it.
I have one friend who's also South Asian who was constantly going antibiotics for a recurrent UTI.
So think about vulval lichen sclerosis as a diagnosis, because we don't have the reference point. So what we do is we look at skin. Knowing the signs and symptoms is really important. So lichen sclerosis guide is something we put together. It's free website. So I'm on the board of directors for Wellbeing of Women, which is a women's charity. There's also, the thing is, and this is again coming back to that medical misogyny, no one's taken ownership of the vulva in medicine. So they went to the dermatologists many, many, many years ago before even, and the dermatologists were like, yeah, it's about the skin on the vulva, but it's related to the reproductive places. So they went to the gynecologists, and the gynecologists were like, yeah, but like actually we don't look on the outside, we just look at the vagina, the inside bit. And that's where we're mostly focused on. But who looks after this? Because also you've got the urethra, which the urologists look after, because that's where we pee from.
Yeah.
So do the urologists look after it? No. So actually things like vulval skin stuff, HPV infections, warts, and then is that sexual health? So do you go into that? So no one's really looked after the vulva as the outside bit properly, and hence why we end up finding women get these whole host of symptoms and they go different avenues. I unfortunately ended up having a tear with my first as well. And the recovery of that took a long time. And it was only now into my 40s, now I'm perimenopausal. So I was 38 years old and I was getting recurrent urinary tract infections. I did a conference
that's so painful
in Sweden talking about equity in women's healthcare with a florid UTI. And there's actually a YouTube video of me delivering this conference. And to look at me, you would never know that I've got a UTI because we are so good at masking things.
Yeah.
That resilience that you talked about, aren't we brilliant? So I'm delivering this conference talking about equity, what we're doing in the UK about the women's health strategy, and I've got a UTI. As soon as the questions finish, I come off stage and I go to my husband, I need to freaking find a pharmacy because I am in it's like fire and I need to wee, but there's nothing to wee. Luckily,
that's
just
like the worst feeling.
Isn't that the worst feeling?
Oh, yeah.
Like every woman that's listening to this,
horrible.
It's like razor blades. So I'm running, I leave and I find my husband's got the kids. And I'm like, I need to find a lovely pharmacist. But the thing was, I'd had one not too long ago where I was given a 3-course antibiotics. Yeah. And now I've got another one because I've traveled and I've become dehydrated. That's one of the things. But also my skin changes. Like it's not great on the flights when you're going, etc. Yeah. It's not the same. You're just
maybe a bit stressed about
giving a big talk as well. Your diet changes. Yeah. So there's that. And then I was like, I need to go on a longer course. So I came back. I spoke to the GP and I was just like, I need to talk to you about something because either it's vaginal atrophy or there's something else going on because I don't know what it is, but I keep getting these symptoms now. I was 38 and bless him, he was so cute, very young. And he was just like, yeah, you're just a bit too young for all of that, Dr. Nighat. And I went, I've written a book on this. I've never used that line.
That's
that
a mic
line
drop.
had to come out. I was like, I've written a book on this. Let me tell you some stuff. And actually, it was a lovely conversation and it turned into like a teaching
Well, you got to
consultation.
educate someone.
Exactly.
Great that he was open to it, right?
It was really, really good. And I think that's why I would say there's never any shame not knowing stuff. We only know what we know and what we come across. Started on vaginal estrogen. Some of the symptoms got better, but still this itch would always come back. And then I was just like, right, I need a referral. So I got a referral into secondary care. Lovely, lovely GP, like shout out to amazing colleagues out there. But it took me a year, which I didn't mind, because I'm not urgent. And I said, could I have a biopsy, please? And it was on my biopsy that they found lichen sclerosis. So now I reflect back and I'm just like, 20-year-old and 30-year-old Nighat, postnatal Nighat was dealing. So you think about all this stuff that women deal with. And there was times when doctors were never allowed to share the stuff that they're going through. But I've started using my platform to go, look, I get it. I think that's where a lot of the empathy comes from because I've lived it. I've probably put my finger in it at some point. I've probably looked at it. Yeah. I've probably, reviewed it. That's the job of a doctor, right? There's nothing that's off bounds. There's nothing off limits and there's no shame. I'm really keen to take away the oxygen that we give to shame. And people tell me all the time on social media, this is haram or this is bisharam. Don't talk about this. I don't care. Like, guys, I cannot tell you how many lives are saved because people know the symptoms. And as you just said right now, oh my God, I've got so many mates. And imagine if their life was turned around because actually that could be their diagnosis and they were able to get support. Because the data shows that if the lichen sclerosis gets bad enough, it can actually change the architecture of your vulva and vagina, and that's irreversible. So we see that, and there's a small, very, very small chance of vulval lichen sclerosis turning into vulval cancer. And that's the other thing. People don't know that vulval cancer exists.
I didn't even know that was a thing. And
I
feel like I'm pretty versed in this area. Well, not just in vulva health, but in just health generally from the show.
Yeah. Vulval cancer is a thing. And now, beyond cervical cancer, the cervix, because we get our smears done.
Had mine yesterday at the GP surgery.
Good. I was so proud of you. But we are now seeing more and more anal cancers in women and men, but women mainly because we think we've done our job because of the HPV vaccine, but that's looking at the cervix. HPV also sits around your anus as well, so anal tissue will get cancers around there.
Hey guys, I am very bad at asking for this, but I wanted to stop for just 1 minute and ask a huge favor. If you want to hear more diverse conversations from female voices, such as myself, I would love if you could hit subscribe. We work so hard on this show to bring you some of the best guests in the world, and having a female voice sometimes gives a different perspective, and I really want to elevate more of that on this channel. So please hit subscribe if that's important to you, as it is to me. Okay, well, you have to show me the vulva.
I have to show you the vulva.
Okay, show it up, make sure everyone can see it.
So I have to say, this was a gifted model, so I'm not branding or anything. This is a lovely gift that was given to me. And this is the other job that I get now. I get women across the world, and my biggest consumers of my content, I'm mostly on Instagram. And they will go, I love this so much. I've made a model. Can I send it to you? I'm like, thank you very much.
That's amazing.
But I'm not going to, because I don't do any brands. I work with I'm an NHS GP. I don't work with any brands. So this model is really important because not only has it got hair, like hair is normal. You don't need to wax, shave, or take out any hairs before you come and see me. I don't care if you've not done your legs. Mate, I've seen it all. Like, there is nothing shameful about hair. And I blame the porn industry.
I know, so much to blame the porn industry for on it.
Yeah, you don't need a Brazilian wax.
In every third conversation I have, by the way, on hair.
Thank God you do talk about that and condemn the porn industry for taking away the hair. This is normal. So I love the fact that it's still got all its hair, and I see all different types, less, more. It could be a beautiful bush. It's absolutely fine. You're going to crop that, aren't you? I can see your face.
That's going to be a zoom. Dun, dun, dun.
Damn it.
It's a beautiful bush.
Yeah, exactly. And then, right, we've got the clitoral hood. So this is our clitoral hood at the top. And then we've got labia majora and our labia minora. And then we've got the urethra. So this model actually shows the urethra as well. And the great thing is this bit down here is known as the posterior fourchette. And the posterior fourchette is something that's so under-researched and we know very little about as well. But the posterior fourchette is the bit of the skin that extends and allows anything to go in. So when you feel pain down here, it's because we're stretching the posterior fourchette. So if you're having sex, the foreskin has to go over the posterior fourchette, and you can get micro, paper cuts or fissures, as we call them.
Oh, yeah.
And that can be exquisitely painful. So using lubrications is so important, like lube. You're going to now look at I can see your face. You're so cute. I literally can see how you think now, Sarah. But lube, no shame. And that's so important to do it down here, right at the bottom, the perineum, which is the gap between the anal tissue as well.
Yeah.
So the perineum is so important because actually, if you have a tear, so there's different grades of tears. There's, stage 1 all the way up to stage 4. And stage 4 is when we actually tear around the anal tissue. I mean, the things women go through, bless them.
There's a lot of women have this after childbirth, right?
Yes,
and that's stitches.
Yeah, vaginal birth. So if you get an anal tear, then that can render you fecally incontinent, really difficult to have sex. But the thing that we don't tell women is that, stage, if you've got a 3rd degree or a 4th degree, particularly a 4th degree tear, I've now started saying to women, these are lifelong tears. They're not just for a little bit. A C-section, I think we've now come around to the fact of going, oh gosh, yeah, a cesarean section is a lifelong scar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you rehab that scar, you massage it, you put your lovely sort of moisturizer on it, you look after it.
Take a bit of arnica.
Exactly. Do we do that with this? No.
Wow.
You should rehab every scar. If you had a knee scar, you would rehab it.
Yeah.
So you don't get, and especially if you're from someone who gets keloid, which is an over thickening of scar tissue, that can happen as well, and I've seen that.
Wow. I don't think women look at maybe I'm completely speaking incorrectly, but I don't think women look at their vulvas.
No. Get a long handle mirror,
yeah,
and then look between your legs. Take about a good 10 minutes. And what you want to do is look at the key areas. So you want to look at the outside for any skin tags, any new growths of skin, think about warts, etc. Then split your lips, have a look at the labia majora, which is the outside lips, labia minora, which is the inside lips. Find where your urethra is, and your urethra is going to be like a little hole, which has another little hole. That's where you pee from. See where your clitoris is.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've got a partner, show him where the clitoris is.
That's important. We've got a great episode with
Great.
Dr. Laurie Mintz, all about the clitoris.
Great. And then like really look at your posterior fissure and then look at your anus, guys.
Yeah. Look at it. Also very important for gastro health.
So important for gastro health. We don't look at our bums enough.
No, we don't.
Really important to look at that because anal cancer is now a rising cancer that we're seeing in the NHS and globally as well. And this is just the vaginal opening. The vaginal opening is what you're looking at because then the vagina has loads and loads of different rings. Now, the great thing about this model is that it does come apart.
It comes off.
It comes apart. So this is the size of a female clitoris. Looks like a little penguin.
It really does look like a penguin. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
I love it. This matches your outfit.
It does match my outfit. But it sits just above the urethra.
Okay.
So that's where you pee from.
Doesn't that look like a willy?
Yeah. I mean, I think that looks, if you look at the end.
Yeah, it does.
And that is essentially what
Actually,
it is.
no, that's what it is, isn't it?
That is what it is.
That's what I was told on that podcast.
That's exactly what it is. And then this is your vagina. We hear about the vagina a lot, but the inside of your vagina is impressive. And the clitoris, so if I just have that.
This is
So
the clitoris, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's got a whole body to it, but this bit, we used to think had about 8,000 nerve endings. I know you've got a whole podcast, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But up until recently, as recent as, say, 2024, 2025, we realized actually there's more nerve endings because medical misogyny again. We started researching the women's female clitoris. And so we've actually realized there are over about 10,500 nerve endings. Wow, more than a man. I mean, that's crazy that we have that. And so it just shows that actually our anatomy is really thought about in regards to pain and sensitivity, but pleasure. And I think female pleasure is something that is still so taboo and taboo in medicine. Like I was never taught about this at medical school. I knew about it, like the words and stuff, but I never actually understood the anatomy because why would I bother with female pleasure? So when you get a patient who comes in going, sex is really painful, you end up getting these responses because no one's thought about, say, vulval vaginal atrophy or something known as genitourinary syndrome of the menopause. So that happens as young as, say, 38 or 39 years old. Wow. So actually what we should be doing is should be educating women about their vulva and vaginal tissue and their pelvic health tissues and muscles, because your pelvic health is literally your universe. If you look after your pelvic health, it's going to do you so much good into your 60s and your 70s. And your pelvic health and your vulva and your vagina is not just for sex. It's for your genitourinary health. So where you pee from, your bladder health. Exactly. So we have to think about moisturizing that area.
Oh, really?
So now my recommendation has started. I've really changed my recommendation. I say from the age of about 20, start moisturizing your vulva and your vagina.
But with what type of stuff? Because anything that's too perfumed, right, could make you also give you a UTI.
So it's so important to have stuff that don't have parabens in them. A lot of them don't. A lot of the high street brands do unfortunately have flavorings, etc. Don't do that, especially if you're thinking about like lubes for sex. Condoms also have lots of flavorers and lots of which are not needed, which is really irritant for vulval vaginal health. Make sure it doesn't have glycerin in it, because glycerin, if you're prone to thrush, can make your thrush symptoms worse. Alcohol is incredibly drying, so really read what there are. I don't do any brands, but if I could just talk about two brands, because I'm not promoting them and I have no affiliation with them at all. But I would say Yes Vaginal Moisturizer that you can buy off any high street or brand, etc. And Sutil Rich is pretty good. So Sutil is a really good brand because that doesn't have any of those chemicals in there. And it's really important to, if one gives you it, just jot it down, and then try another one. Unfortunately, we can't say this particular brand is going to work for this particular person just yet. There's quite good other ones. There's Replens. Replens can actually make your itch a lot worse. But in others, it works really well. Replens is on prescription. We now can prescribe the Yes Vaginal Moisturizer as well. So there's quite a lot out there and it is really overwhelming. But if it is about your vulval health, it's really important that you start researching in that, especially because remember, your vagina is its own separate organ. So this is the vagina.
Oh, wow. That looks like a shoe.
It does.
Mold.
Do you know what? I showed this. Sorry. I showed this So again, a lovely, lovely woman on the internet reached out to me and said, can I send you a model of the vagina? And I was like, mate, you don't have to ask me twice. Yes. Thank you. And it's 3D printing of a real life vagina.
Wow.
So
wait, where's the entry point?
Here.
Okay.
So this is what we see. So this is your vaginal opening. Do you remember I said?
Yeah.
So it is an organ. I know.
You forget about that.
Yeah. See, even you were like, really?
I know. I had to think then.
It is true. So it's got its own microbiome, just like your gut is an organ. It's got its own ecosystem. It looks after it. So it's got all these ridges. So I'll let you feel. So all of these ridges, and this has the capacity to increase to about 34, 35 centimeters. And the cervix, so this is what I see. So when I put a speculum in to do a smear, so you went for your smear, this is what the nurse was looking for at the top.
That's what she's getting.
Yeah, that's what she's getting.
That's what she's
so this
taking
is the neck
off.
of the womb. No, so this is the neck of the womb, the cervix. That's the hole. And that hole, the opening of the neck of the womb, has the capacity to open to about 10 centimeters to allow the head of a baby through.
Of course. That never, always fascinates me.
Crazy,
that
right?
A baby can come out of that.
So we are literally put on God's green earth to reproduce. So I get a lot of women who have unexplained fertility. And I would say, look, please always look at male factor. You can't just look at women as well. You have to look at the male factor. And I get friends and patients who go, we're really struggling to fall pregnant. And I say, look, unless there's a real reason that we can, I promise you, you are put on this God's green earth to reproduce. You will. We know that fertility issues are on the rise, but that's obesity, that's cardiovascular disease. There's loads of other factors, stress, etc., high cortisol.
And the man.
And the man as well. So it's so important to look at, mental health and cardiovascular disease in men as well as for fertility, just as important. But actually our anatomy, unless there's any genetic functional thing that's going on, or there's endometriosis, adenomyosis, or PCOS, or uterine fibroids, we are pretty much here to reproduce. And our vulva is able to accommodate that. And at the back of the vulva, there's a little nook, right? This little nook at the end. And that literally just holds sperm for up to 5 days.
See, that's always the one that really fascinates me. 5 days that it can stay in there.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're hanging on.
They're ready. They're ready to pounce.
I showed this to a colleague who's a gastroenterologist. And he was just like, oh, wowzers. And he went, it looks like the stomach.
It does look like the stomach.
He went, that is the esophagus. And he goes, the stomach is a bag.
Yeah.
Because he does ERCP, so he looks into the gut all the time. And he takes out, cancers from the gut. And he goes, when I do endoscopies, that's exactly what the stomach looks like.
Wow.
And the hole here is then the duodenum, goes off into the pancreas. I was like, mind was blown. See the stuff I'm learning. Even
I'm
now.
learning.
And he was like, no wonder. He goes, the replication of our anatomy. There's no, I love the human body so much because it's fascinating. And I had no idea that and that's the first thing he said to me. I mean, he was fascinated by it.
Yeah.
But have a feel of the ridges on that.
Wow.
Have a feel of ridges on my vagina.
There you go. I'm feeling your vagina right now. And you know what I learned from yours as well, which was something interesting, because a lot of people talk about contraception and you talk about different types of contraception and you talk about the ring.
Yes.
That I don't think that many people. So my mum worked in sexual health for the NHS. So I grew up
great
being told all of these different, I mean, it was amazing. She was also very medical in it. And this is, this is one form of contraception. This is the coil. This is the injection. This is the pill. This is the mini pill. This is the non-mini pill. And I would have all of these. I'd go into the clinic to see her after school. My friends would come in as well and duck if they saw my mum, because they'd go coming in to get condoms or something, and they'd duck. And then my mum would happily walk past. But I kind of grew up learning a lot about it because my mum was in it. But then you explained it so well that I think many people don't know about the ring. And it's only because you mentioned the back of the vulva, I thought this might be a perfect time to say, where you actually slip the ring in at the back and you can keep it in
whilst having sex.
Yeah. And your period and a tampon. And that's what stops the sperm when you said goes out for 5 days, right? So it obviously causes a ridge
Yeah, so there's a barrier. So number one, so it causes a little ridge. That's exactly why. So you put it up right up near your cervix. You put it in just like a tampon. I've got a little model that I use in my surgery, but no one knows about the vaginal ring. And it's because it just blew up on social media and I got tagged into so many conversations. They were like, is this a thing? I was like, it is and it's available on the NHS. So it's for free. It's covered in the con. The other thing is the patch. We do actually have a HRT patch as well.
That's true. We didn't talk about that enough.
And but the ring is even less talked about. There's different brands. The Nova ring is the most common brand, and it's available on the NHS. So again, no brand promotion at all. And the ring, literally, you squeeze in the middle and you pop up, and it just sits around the cervix. And it's got 2 hormones on it, estrogen and progesterone. So the estrogen is a form of a synthetic estrogen, and the progesterone is a synthetic progestin as well. It works brilliantly if you want to bypass the gut. So great. The only thing we've got to be careful with is, I mean, I've never had anybody really worry about it, but if you've known to suffer from migraines, or you've got a very, very strong family history of breast cancer or a personal history of breast cancer, we try and say not to have estrogen. But a lot of that data around that is actually the oral combined contraceptive pill. And we know that they're synthetic hormones. But actually anything that's transdermal, like a patch contraceptive or a vaginal ring that has got contraceptive, I think the data there is actually much more lenient and in the regards to safety compared to the oral contraceptive pill, which we know is linked to a very, very small risk. I should just say a very small risk to breast cancer. Very, very small risk to clots, a very small risk to migraines. We've got to be really careful with those that are overweight as well, because again, that risk of clot increases.
A blood clotting factor.
Blood clotting factors as well. So if you've got factor V Leiden or von Willebrands, we've got to be really careful with that. So the ring actually, we think, because it bypasses the liver where all your clotting factors are made, I have given it to my patients with factor V Leiden.
Really?
The ring, yeah.
Oh, wow.
If I'm really struggling in regards to giving them a progesterone. Although recently we do have a new type of progesterone called desroprenenon, which is the sister of all these progestins that we've got. And it's called Slind, and it's great, but it's still pricey. So we're struggling with the postcode lottery in the NHS, who is able to get access to that. And contraception is now varied so much. Diaphragms are coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember those?
These are old school.
The only diaphragm reference I always think about is Monica from Friends.
We should put in a clip in of this right now.
Exactly. Honestly, when she goes, Monica, and she goes, yes, mother. And she was like, I found your diaphragm. I think Richard has been. And that's all I can ever remember. I think it's something like that. Honestly, it's etched into my memory about her diaphragm.
They are interesting to look at.
They're so radical, right? So radical. You put a bit of spermicide in and you leave them in, and I don't know. But they are coming back, and they're actually made it a lot easier. I remember the biggest factor was that you'd have to go and get sized for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, coils have really come back.
How do you get the ring out? Once it's up? That's
just
what
like a tampon. So you pop your finger. So if I show you on here, I don't have my ring with me. I mean, it's a lovely little tip, but basically it goes.
Glue.
So lots and lots of lube or moisturizers. The best thing to do is, if you can, squat down in the bath when you're having a shower.
Yeah.
So technically the manufacturers say put it in for 3 weeks, and then take it out for 7 days to have a break. So you have a bleed, and then pop it back in again. But you do not need to have a break.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That 7-day pill break from your combined oral contraceptive pill is more to do about the Pope than actually a medical reason.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's wild.
It is wild. So back in the 50s, we tried to get the pill out. By the way, the greatest invention, I still believe, liberation.
Well, for women.
For women. Amazing. But the pill, the history of it is utterly fascinating. Number one, because in the initial trials, in fact, women died and still got FDA approved. Women had clots. Still got FDA approved. Yeah. Now we wouldn't even dream of that. No. Like, the male contraceptive pill I'm still fighting for, because
it's in trial.
It's in trial. I know, I spoke about it. It is in trial, but we're just going to see. But then the first couple of trials kept failing because men got headaches.
Oh, poor them.
Poor little lambs. No, I shouldn't downgrade. I shouldn't be flippant about that. Headaches are horrible, but it just shows how actually, because of the Geneva Trial Convention and the ethics that we have, we are thinking about side effects a lot more. But I suppose it's just like, well, where were these safeguarding stuff
I
for
just think
women.
about how many different fluctuations women go on the pill. Like some think
Yeah.
they've lost their mind.
Yeah.
Some go on
Libido goes down. You get vaginal dryness.
All of it.
Suicidal thoughts makes you put on weight, etc. And you're just like, okay, where are we with that mindfulness for female medications? Because actually, all of these drugs that still come out to market have those side effects even now. And for the male factor fertility issues, we're not bringing any to market because actually the side effects of, say, GI stuff like vomiting and nausea is just too much, and the trials get stopped. And I suppose the counterbalances to that, well, a man doesn't fall pregnant, whereas there's a bigger risk for a woman. She'll have an unplanned pregnancy. But I still think that that's because fertility is very much at the foot of the door of the woman, which again, we come back to patriarchy and medical misogyny. But if you've got the coiling, coming back to that, the vaginal ring in, then you squat down in the bath, run your fingers up, and then you'll feel something that feels like your ring is a little bit ridge. And then you tug on that between your fingers and you just pull it out, just like a tampon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it gets a bit of...
Can't get lost.
Can't get lost. No, it doesn't go wandering anyway. Because look, it's got to stop.
Well, this is really helpful to see now, but I think initial thoughts...
Like, there's no wandering womb.
You can't go
The
anywhere.
anatomy can't go anywhere. It literally cannot get lost. And it can't even get tucked behind anything because it's big enough to stay exactly where it needs to stay.
Good to know.
The other really good tip of doing it, so if you can't squat down, etc., is lie on your bed and then pop your legs to the side as if you're on a clinical couch and then go up that way. Or if you're going to stand up, because that's where you are caught, then to stand up and then raise one leg on a stool or something and then try and go up that way.
At an angle.
But yeah, if a lot of my patients now, I just say to them, just keep the ring in for 3 weeks. Don't have the break because we don't want you to have a bleed. And actually the ring works really well and they just have it back to back.
So interesting. This was like never really spoke about. It was always just the pill.
Yeah, I know. And it's really annoying because actually long-acting contraceptives, such as the implant and the coil, whether that's a copper coil or a Mirena coil, are just so good. I think they're really good. And I say this from personal experience.
You haven't got to think about it.
Yeah, I insert coils. I've been inserting coils for about 12 odd years and I know they are painful. So I do a lot of content around what pain relief you're entitled to on the NHS and you should ask for it. So we do have local anaesthetic that you shouldn't have to ask for it, but it should always be discussed. But I know that it's very patchy throughout the country. And there are campaigners who are trying to make sure that hysteroscopies and also coil insertions are done with good pain relief. And I'm one of them really advocating for that. Cost factor is the issue that comes into it. And the idea, it comes from like the old, which I'm really hoping we're done with, myths that the cervix doesn't have nerve endings. I just want to say that is utterly rubbish and there's no data behind that. It came from a lot of procedures that were done historically from the father of gynecology, Dr. Sims, where we would get the Sims speculum, where he did a lot of unethical, horrific trials on black women without their consent, putting in spatulas and etc. to have a look.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where we also get sort of from slavery times the theory that black bodies are strong or the strong black woman. And I can't abide that.
That's horrific.
It's horrific. I can't abide. It's awful. And so we've got a lot of unlearning to do when it comes to gynecology, because gynecology, even if you look at abortion, they've all come from backstreet abortion medicine. They've come from quite nefarious understanding of the female body. Like, for example, Leonardo da Vinci dug up female pregnant bodies who'd probably died and then did biopsies and anatomy on them and drew them. So there's real nefarious. And I'd say that from the Renaissance time, but not too long ago, we were still experimenting on female bodies. I mean, if you look at the Bill Gates Foundation, the ethics around what they're doing in Africa in regards to the HPV vaccine, that's just up until recent times.
Yeah.
So we've got real issues about what we're doing about research when it comes to female bodies and the intersectionality and also different lived experiences, as well as access to education.
That's a big one.
A big one. But taking away the dehumanizing of the female body because it's been hypersexualized.
Yeah. And also if a male is performing on it, it's also I say this from a woman, you feel way more shut down.
Yeah, I mean, the original pill trial, I've done a post about it and I've written about it. But, there were two doctors from white middle-class doctors from America, went to Puerto Rico, really poor part of the world at that time, and dished out the pill to street workers and prostitutes. And it was given as a way out so they could carry on doing their work, because these are women who are desperate.
Yeah.
So where are the ethics about that? Gave them the pill, and some did die out of that trial.
That's I never knew that.
Google it. It's really horrific where it's come from.
So where do you think like all of this is going to be in the next 5 years? With like, now we're talking about it. Funding in some countries is completely gone in women's health.
Trump has been putting a sledgehammer to women's health.
Yes, anything that's got the word female in it now has been taken off.
Because I would say the whole conversation about genders is really, to me, quite sad, because I deal with however anyone identifies themselves, right? Whether they're trans, non-binary, etc. And the bare minimum, you just need to respect them.
100%.
We come back to that whole piece about validation as well. As a clinician, in my first book, which is the Knowledge, Your Guide to Female Health, actually I've got a whole section on trans health in that, and LGBTQ+. And I thought I would get a lot of backlash because I'm a Muslim doctor who's writing about LGBTQ+, etc. But actually, I was really amazed that I didn't.
I'm so happy that you didn't.
And I'm so glad that it was received well. But my American publisher, when Trump came in and said there's only two genders, male or female, they removed that section about about trans health.
That's really sad.
And it's really sad because I think that not only are they the smallest minority in our community, not only are they massively hampered in regards to research, they are put under a mental health diagnosis, which is abhorrent, or should have antidepressants thrown at them. But it means that we're not learning. We've stunted our growth of learning. And by making sure that we are so specific about our genders, yes, biologically, there's the XY chromosome and the XX chromosome. I get that. But if someone has that, identifies as a trans man and is bleeding, because they are still having their periods, I'm not going to deny them treatment. I'm still going to go through all the treatment options that I've got. I mean, that's just basic humanity, I think.
Well, that is what it is. It's not gender, it's humanity.
That's it.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's what we need to keep coming back to. But the defunding of healthcare really worries me. And recently Trump's just taken the US out of the World Health Organization. I think the thing that concerns me is when the thing that concerns me is that when you've got individuals who are pulling out, like countries, and
they're the biggest funder.
They're the biggest funder pulling out. What happens is that you get billionaires stepping in. So you've got the Bill Gates Foundation stepping in to fund 225 billion pounds into women's research. And I read that very carefully. And if you actually read the paper that's coming out about what that funding is, he's actually said it's a business opportunity, not research.
So he's looking at it in a biotech type of way.
Yeah. And when you accommodate.
Oh God, we're too dyslexic trying to say that word.
The dyslexia in me is really kicked in. But you see female bodies, because he's not talking about male bodies here, by the way. When you're talking about specifically female bodies as a business tool, that concerns me, and it's a bit Handmaid's Tale-ish.
Yeah, that is very Handmaid's Tale.
Isn't that scary? Because then there's already an issue. If you look at Elon Musk going, but birth rate is declining in the world. Look at Japan, the birth rate is declining.
God, there was a big thing happening on social media about that.
Yeah,
the other week
exactly.
Between two people.
So you've got that. Then you've got an AI app with Elon Musk, and he owns that, called Grok. And let's face it, let's be absolute truth. It's not people or the AI app. It's men. Men going on that app and declothing women and children.
It's horrific.
It's not the app, because the AI app has no feelings. It's not a gender at all. So it's men doing that. And then you've defunded anatomy and research. You go back to that sort of Handmaid's tail and hypersexualization of female bodies again, and they're a commodity. That's the word I was trying to say, commodity. And that really scares me as a healthcare professional, because it means that we're not going forwards, we're actually going backwards. But I'm really hopeful, again, the glass half full person,
good.
coming back to that, because I never like to think that it's all doom and gloom, and it's not. The good thing is that we've got incredible advocates. You've got podcasts like this who are giving platforms to people like me. You wouldn't normally see a hijabi woman talking about her vagina.
I love it. That's why we need one of you in every GP clinic.
Let me just clarify, it wasn't mine. It was the model. We're talking about the model.
If someone's watching this, if someone's not watching this, they're already like, is she getting out her vagina to show us?
It's the model. Exactly. I'm so glad there's visuals with this as well. Actually, that's probably a bad thing. There's visuals. But it means that we're having an equitable conversation, taking into account all different lived experience, and people of color feel seen and heard.
That's really important.
Really important. People who have different sexualities are seen and heard and validated. And I feel going forwards with the introduction of AI, there's enough good people, good humans, good humanity out there to go, right, I'm going to push back at this. So look at Grok, like there was a huge pushback from so many organizations, governments, like push back against that you've got a billionaire to change that. I think that it just keeps people advocating and not putting their head below the parapet because it's too scary, because you allow terrible things to happen if you stay silent.
100%. My mum will always say the suffragettes didn't fight for nothing.
Yeah.
It's so important. You've got to remember where this all started, you know?
And I still, every now and then I'm reminded, because I wear dresses a lot with pockets. And I'm like, you'll never meet a woman who doesn't show off her dress with pockets, right? Especially if they're deep pockets and your iPhone can fit in there. I mean, then I'm just like, I'm living the dream. And I read back why I constantly get excited. And I put a post up of going, I think I did like one of my TV shows, and I was like, I'm wearing this dress and it's got, actually don't worry about the dress, it's got pockets. And there's an incredible person who wrote that when the suffragettes were really fighting for their cause, they made sure that all female clothing had no pockets because they couldn't send notes to each other.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why female clothing. So that's why we've been reduced to a little handbag, or the man has pockets.
Wow.
Because women couldn't wear trousers, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because if
all
you did,
dresses.
Yeah, they were all dresses with tight corsets.
Yeah.
And so they took out, on purpose, fashion to stop feminism and women having a voice. They took away our pockets so that we couldn't share information.
So now I'm going to have to wear way more pockets.
Exactly.
I didn't know that was a thing.
That was. And so I look at society now and I'm like, do you know what? We've just come around to making women smaller again. Have you not seen this trend that making women smaller and quieter, the less pockets that they have? I mean, it starts with pockets.
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
I said to a guest the other day on the show, I didn't fully agree with all of his views. And I think that's a great thing. I don't think you should just get people on your show that you agree with their views on. I think you should have all different people on your show and you should be able to air views, because we're all entitled, right, to what we believe in. But I did say, do you think there's more men having these types of conversations than women? Because I feel that, and I feel just even in the podcast sector and the health sector, it's way more dominated by the male voices. And we need the male voices, but we also need way more women's voices, because otherwise it becomes hyper unbalanced. And what I see is a lot of content getting overshared and underlooked because it's just all surrounded by dominant male voices. And then that feeds into the societal conversation on what people end up looking more towards. And I think that's just is a worry for me.
I still think we haven't moved away from the fact that when a man says something, we listen.
Take it seriously.
And take it seriously. And I see that constantly. What you've highlighted there is what you will say as a female podcaster will probably be ignored or downplayed still. Whereas a male podcaster saying exactly the same thing as you are will be taken so much more seriously and it will blow up.
Yeah.
So I see this with my content a lot, because I'll talk about, menopause or endometriosis and women's health stuff that I've been entrenched in for 14 years and I'm talking about. And that same information that I've done is now being taken up by a male doctor and his got millions of views, whereas mine's sitting on about, a couple hundred. And I'm not complaining. I'm just glad the information's getting out there. But I still think our psyche is, oh, but the man said it and I need to pay attention to this. And, oh, he understands me. And that is so entrenched in our psyche, because if you look back just at women's health and gynecology, and a lot of like what I cover in my health, which is the whole family health aspect, midwives would be hands-on. They would be doing so much of the birthing. Men realize, oh, I can make money here. And then I will be there. But they couldn't examine the women, so because it was too much.
Yeah.
So and they would downplay or say that women were witches, the midwife, and they were awful. And so actually, if you paid a bit more to the man, and I think that's why we still have a lot more male gynecologists around.
Wow, it is interesting that you have more male gynecologists than females.
Male gynecologists are amazing. I work with so many of them. But I think if you look at the history of it and just our psyche,
well, history is such a big teller.
Strong.
Like history repeats itself again and again and again. That's what we all need to like.
Absolutely. But I still think the patriarchy is very, very strong. We're walking and moving the dial towards equality. We still haven't got anywhere near equity.
No.
Like, if you're looking at people who have lived experiences or living with a disability or hearing neurodiversity.
Yeah, massive.
If you're looking at sort of people who are like in the prison system, there's no equity in regards to how we deal with healthcare in those sectors. So we've still got a lot of work to do. And I keep saying that the patriarchy is a lot to answer for.
It does. I'm in agreement with you there. 100%. I think, what did I repost the other day? I posted of Will Ferrell saying, women, can you just rule the world? And I had to repost that about 10 times.
Yes. Because I feel like it's a bit of a dumpster fire at the moment. But I always very much like, if we're down here, we can only go up.
Exactly.
Because I'm hoping we can't get any further lower than we are, than the standards that we have. But it's so important to stop doom scrolling, to come off socials, go back to real life, go out into nature. If you're listening to this podcast, take this podcast on your walk with you. So you're out in nature and listening to podcasts and having a laugh with us.
Yeah.
And that all those little bits means that actually it's not all doom and gloom. And the world is so beautiful, because in real life, guarantee in real life, you'll just meet beautiful souls and beautiful humans. And I constantly put my phone down. We've come to this agreement with me and my husband that after 8 p.m, no screen time for anything. That's it. We're winding down for bed.
I love that.
And the kids are off screens for mealtime, or we're winding down for bed now. And that has been a game changer in regards to our mental health. And my husband would constantly watch the news at 10 o'clock before he went into bed.
I used to do that, and I stopped it in COVID.
Okay.
I stopped. That's why I started this podcast, because I was so terrified to listen to any news outlet, because I was living on my own. I couldn't go and see my parents. Even though you could still travel, I was too scared because my dad was high risk, and I was like, I just would never trust myself or forgive myself if something ever happened. So I basically never left my flat, and I just worked 24/7. And then I stopped listening to the news because it spun me out. And all I listened to every morning was the FT news briefing, which was like 2 minutes long, and that's all I could listen. Need. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to start a podcast and talk to health professionals and actually try not feel scared, and try and like educate and talk about lifestyle interventions that we can do and things that we can kind of control, because there's so much that you can't control. But if we know things that we can control and we can trust people who come on the show, then actually it gives us a little bit of autonomy back. That was the whole reason why, because I was started watching it at 10 o'clock at night going, I'm going to die by tomorrow. If I go to the shop and get COVID, I will die. But you look back to that moment now, and it was real. Like, everyone was terrified. Yeah. And that's when I decided to stop watching the news at 10 p.m.
That's so good, because that's the other thing. We forget that we have autonomy. So I often say to my friends and like my siblings and my sister and even myself, that if you're following someone, an influencer or even a health content creator like myself or a doctor, and they make you feel worse, unfollow them.
100%.
That, like, you have the power to unfollow. Like, I constantly say to people, don't follow me at the end of my video. I sometimes say share this because this is an important video, but I always say ask me questions. Yeah. Like, if there's any questions, leave them at the bottom and I'll try and answer as many as I can. Like, I'm like a real life doctor. But you literally can just scroll past. That's the most important thing. We forget that we have to scroll past. You don't have to write a mean comment and troll someone.
I know, that really upsets me when people do that.
But unfollow, really. Like, I will not take it personally.
Exactly.
I've never... Great friends of mine who don't follow none of my family follow me on socials, and thank God for that, because this whole sort of like Beckhams have unfollowed each other. Oh God, guys, get a life. Like, who cares? Like, why is this so important?
Imagine 20 years ago, the family feuds about unfollowing. We
Exactly.
wouldn't have believed it.
We wouldn't have believed it. And we're invested though. Like, I'm totally invested.
I'm invested in the memes. I'm so invested in the memes.
Do you know what? I got invested in Gary Barlow's son's height. Those were my memes. I was so invested from there. And then I was just like, now I'm invested in everybody's family. But it's so important to know that if someone makes you feel worse about you after you've seen their content, even if they have the most pristine content, like, people only show their best version of
100%.
themselves. I only ever put up content. There was a point in my content that I was sort of like, this is where I'm on holiday. There's a short period where I went through that. I definitely don't post about my kids. I talk about them, but I don't post about their faces. And there was like, look at this dress that I'm wearing in this studio that I'm at. And then I realized, who cares? Like, it's lovely and all my stuff is gifted. You do not have to. Like, I literally shop at F&F. By the way, F&F are amazing. Like, the boots I'm wearing today are from Sainsbury's from about 10 years ago. And
recycling.
Exactly. I rewear so much of my clothes as well, again and again on telly shows. And I'm like, it's so important just to... the aesthetics really worries me, because we've got consumed into the aesthetics alongside that. And for some people, that's their bag, and I love it and I get it. But if that makes you feel bad about your life, mate, stop following that person. Stop it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to have the self-awareness. You got to be like, wait, this is making me feel this way, so I need to unfollow it. But sometimes we're not realizing.
Even have the courage to meet your friend. Because if they're posting about the third holiday that they've gone in, and you're like, I'm stuck in my jammies and I haven't brushed my teeth for 3 days.
And you're like, I feel like crap. Or, I have a lot of friends that went through horrific breakups, and then their best friends were getting married or getting pregnant. And I was like, don't compare your life cycle to anyone.
Oh, comparison monster.
It's the worst.
The worst.
It will eat you up. And I'm like, you don't know, in 5 years, they might be divorced. They might have the best marriage in the world. That you just don't know what someone's life is, and you're on your own life course. But it's hard because you get the best highlights of people's lives, but you don't realize what happened to get there.
No. Do you know, there's off the back of, I think it was the Grammys, and I've forgotten the comedian, she made that joke about sort of Leonardo DiCaprio, and she was just like, man, we don't know you. Like, you just like young women. That's all we know about you in your movies. And I thought to myself, oh my God, because do you know what? He's actually a star, like a movie star. He's not like us underlings who has to post about what he had for breakfast that day and what underwear he's wearing or what wristwatch he's got, because his is about work. His platform is about his movies. And then we don't know much about him. So we have to make stuff up about him, that he likes younger women. I mean, he might like younger women, no judgment. We listen, we don't judge.
Yes, good point.
So for example, if that's what we know, I actually thought that's really refreshing. Why do we have to know about everything? And so it's so important to share, even if you can, the bad bits about yourself. I mean, my platform's totally different. It's all about healthcare. And at the end of it, I'm not selling you supplements.
Yeah, this is the thing.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, and that's why I talk about self-compassion, because my journey has definitely not been straight. It's been up, down, backward, forward, diagonal, all over the place.
But looking at Sarah with her followers, people are like, the comparison monster comes in, right?
Big,
I bet you people are like, oh, I don't have that many followers as Sarah has. I mean, look at her. She's incredible. She's gorgeous and looks like a little doll and beautiful. I mean, sorry, that's my inner voice coming out.
But has literally suffered with like horrific self-criticism and like self-doubt and like, watching different people go through different life stages and not wondering why she's not got that herself. There's so many things where you take risks and you think, oh God, this is going to really backfire on me.
Yeah.
And I think you always see end products of people, but you don't see the journey to getting there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we forget about social media. I said this to a friend last night. I said, you've got to stop comparing, because you don't know where that person's been for the last 10 years. Completely different journey maybe. And you're seeing that end product. And that end product is what you're comparing to. And you also don't actually know the truth of, they might look, some people can be really good marketers and look like they're thriving, but they're also breaking inside.
But what you've just said there is totally rooted in emotional intelligence and self-awareness as well. And I think that's the critical thinking to be able to look at content and go, that's not my life, or actually that's okay, or I'm doing better than that. So there's that phase that you're going through, but also because you've moved yourself away from the 10 p.m. news that you were watching, and you've got back to connectivity. So if you look at the Harvard study of happiness,
that's my favorite.
It's my favorite study because it's not about money, it's not about travel, it's not about world aesthetics, it's not about having the best house or the best marriage. Actually, it's about connectivity. So what we've done here today, just
relationships,
completely having a nuanced conversation with light and shade in it. There's happy times, bad times, stuff that I would say that you like people listening to this will not agree with me. Some people will be like nodding along going, actually, I agree partially with that. And then having the insight to go, I can step away from this and be connected to my emotions, and think about myself as this holistic, all being, all breathing, blood pumping vessel. And then having that connectivity, whatever way that is. For me, it's spiritually now. I've really come back to, faith has always been a huge part of my life, but I've tried to be good about that personal connectivity. But when I have none of that around me, but connectivity with the all-knowing, all-being, for me, it's Allah, obviously, it's God. Even when I'm sat on the underground and on the tube on my way home after clinic, I have a few moments to reflect and pray for the patients that I've seen that day. For some people, prayer doesn't work. That's absolutely fine. But I think having that spiritual connection in what shape or form that is, even if you're atheist, I've really realized is fundamentally an important part. So we talk about exercise, diet, nutrition, emotional intelligence.
Big one.
Yeah. So keeping in touch with your emotions. And then I think spirituality, which we need to just come round to extending.
I agree so much with that. So I think you have to believe there's something bigger than just you and this earth.
Absolutely. For me, I do.
You have to. And that you could be in anything. That could be in any type of religion, faith, spirit, anything. But there's got to be, otherwise it's like we just here to live and die.
Yeah.
There's got to be a deeper connection, I feel, in some way, shape or form. It also gives you so much empowerment. We're such a small speck in such a huge multi-universe.
Yeah. And that's why I sort of, we're coming back full circle, because what you were saying, you were like, everybody wants you as your doctor. I cringe personally when someone says that. And I know it comes from a place of great sort of love and compassion and things like that. The reason I cringe is because you've just hit the nail on the head. I am literally that tiny speck, and I'm a cog in a massive machine. The NHS is a huge machine. And my job isn't to be famous or have loads and loads of incredible people. I love jotting down what I'm learning, which is why I've got 2 books, and the Family Health Bible is for that, because I just want to encourage people to do that. That book has nearly destroyed me because
it's beautiful though.
I've put down the whole of family health into each single page. So it's essentially, I'm a general physician, and I've tried to jot down all the stuff I've learned as a GP into one concise book, so that you have it as a recipe book for the whole of your... look at that, isn't it?
Isn't that beautiful?
So beautiful.
I did think when I was
a
reading
lovely
this,
illustrator called Liliana, and she is incredible talent. Follow her on socials as well.
I did think this when I was reading it, I was like, she's basically just done like a full medical degree in a book.
Yeah, but it's lay terms,
amazing.
so that my dyslexic brain is telling me anyone can pick up this book. But also I'm hoping it's the antidote to cyberchondria. So you go on internet, you look at all the cyber information of, the AI chat GPT.
The new health one that came out
The new
this
health
week.
one, exactly. And then you can be like, no, actually, let me just come back to what are the basics, what I should know. And then this is what I need to take to the GP. But coming back to the fact that I need to know someone that's bigger than me is really important, because what I put out there, once it's out there, it's not mine. So once that book's out there and it's in bookshelves, etc., I don't even want people to buy it, because if it makes you anxious, unfollow me, don't buy my book. Like I'm in that place now. I'm comfortable enough to say that, because I think that we all grow and we will come to whatever we need to at a certain time. And your tribe and the people that want to resonate with you, or the people that feel actually this individual validates how I feel, they will come to you when it's the right time for them. So don't sweat the small stuff.
No, I agree. I think that's why
my biggest thing was the self-compassion piece for me. Like when I finally like forgave myself and gave myself a bit of empathy, actually everything just felt a lot. I just let go of stuff. I was like, this actually doesn't matter anymore. And actually, if you can't look after yourself, then you can't look after anyone else. At the end of the day, you've got to fill it up from the bottom. But I mean, I think you shouldn't be offended by thinking you should be in every single GP office.
No, I'm just like, there's such great clinicians out
there
there.
is amazing
There's amazing clinicians out there.
But imagine if we just had the women doctor, when a woman goes in and there's always one person they can point to in that GP
that's
office.
the dream.
That's what you want.
That is the dream, and that is what we're working towards. So the Women's Health Strategy, which is this 10-year strategy, all parliamentary groups have been involved. I've been working on it from year one with Professor Dame Leslie Regan, who's the Women's Health Ambassador, which I know you know. And as part of that, one of the key strands running through it is equity in healthcare. We don't just want equality now, we literally want equity. So we know that, I mean, I say as a woman of colour, but I'm not a black woman. I will never be the voice of black women because they have their own struggles. I will never be the voice for, say, someone who is living their life with a disability because I don't have one. And vice versa, all these other, I have limitations that someone who's South Asian will never, you need those individuals 100%. From those communities. So we're year 3 into it, and Professor Leslie and we put together the Health Collective. So what we've been doing is been mapping all the grassroots organizations in this country, finding women who are doing the grassroots, because let's face it, women do the work, right? And they're incredible, but their lived in experience has burnt that fire of passion to go, I want this change. So we've got individual like 5 times more inherent birth, which is women from Somalian communities who have complications after birth. We've got Sisters, which is a large South Asian group up in Birmingham in the Midlands, and they look after a whole LGBTQ trans community with gynecological conditions like endometriosis, adenomyosis, but particularly in the ethnic minority communities. So
amazing.
If you want to do a research project and go, what is the lived experience of endometriosis in Sikh women? Well, Sisters would be going, right, we've done a project on this, and they are really embedded in research. But all of that needs to come to where policymakers are. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that our collective just gets bigger, because the more voices that we have, the more chairs we're pulling out at tables and lifting those voices, the more equity we'll have. Because by seeing the limitations that they've got, we can go, oh my God, we never thought of that. I didn't even know that was how many times have you said to me?
So many times. And
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Because I feel like I'm pretty versed in a lot of areas.
But there's no shade, because that's just not your lived experience. So I have a completely different lived experience. And that is something that's so fundamental
it's really
to
important.
how we get every GP surgery and every secondary care and primary care and even tertiary care to think about women's health.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be something that's just stuck on at the end of a system.
Absolutely not. Like, I think it needs to be a prime focus with any training.
With 52% of the population, mate.
No, it's more.
This is why women need to rule the world. I agree with that repost.
Right? Yeah, I'm going to send it to you. It's amazing. I hope this podcast gets shared wide, loud, proud from men and women. There are so many amazing men that listen to this and share it and are really big backers of women as well, and also want the equity and equality and all of it. So, you know, I'm obviously massive champion of women.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Huge champion of you, huge champion of this book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done on writing it. The second one, it's honestly, I opened it and just thought, yeah, that definitely involved a breakdown.
It was a mad cap idea where I was like, do you know what? I did the whole of women's health in late term. I think I can do the whole of family health. And it took me 2 years to pin it down. Lots of rewrites with specialists who were like, you know, because when they're specialists, they want a whole book on that thing. And I'm like, guys, I've got a page. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I've got a page and I need to distill it down. So it's like a reference thing and then people can take it. But at the end of it, that's what I lost a little bit of my sanity over it. And now it's out. I am so happy. It's definitely that second difficult album. I totally feel like the Spice Girls now. Like, I get what
I love that reference just came up. You know, that's going to be the end of my trailer. I'm going, how did she get to the Spice Girls? Where did that conversation go?
Well, they always said their second album was hard.
Well, I'm only on my first album right now, so I have massive admiration for doing your second. I can follow in your footsteps one day. But thank you. I want to put all of these links. Will you send me all of the links that you spoke about so everyone listening can get in touch with the different research projects that you're doing and helping even just share the links and the awareness. All of that is what makes a difference. So
let me know what you want. It's all available for free out there.
When does this book come out? What is the launch date?
Comes out on the 12th of March. It'll be in all great bookshops, online retailers. It will be everywhere. It's out in the wild soon. My little baby is going out in the wild.
Oh, well, I've got to leave you the final question. I don't know if you know what this is, but I ask this to every single guest. So in over 500 episodes, we've only had the same answer twice.
Oh, wowzers. Okay.
And this is kind of how I see success, really. This is my definition of success, which is, what does live well, be well mean to you?
Okay. So 2 things: to be physically and mentally well. So that's one thing. And to be spiritually well. That's what live well and be well means. Everything else is an added bonus. How I look that day, what dress I'm wearing, whether I've got makeup on or not. And if I'm well, I can then deliver wellness to others. And that's when my kids are well, because they are my world. I have 3 boys, and my husband is well. And then my family, my extended family, I'm the eldest of 5 siblings. I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt, I've got nieces and nephews, I've got friends. I always see every woman being the core sort of tree trunk with all these branches that come off her. And the same with men as well. We've all got these lovely branches that come off, and there are people that you might have touched and not touched along the way, or they just walk past and rubbed against the leaf that's coming off your branches. And I think that if we just invest well in each of those tree trunks and feed them well, spiritually and physically, mentally, then that means that everybody else does really well. I still fundamentally believe that the household is well when the woman is well. And I know that's it should be both men and women, but let's face it, at the moment it is that. And that's what that means.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful one. That we've never had the tree trunk analogy. I'm also thinking of the mycelial.
Look at all your roots, and I bet your roots go down to your ancestors.
100%. Well, we forget about how important they are. Yeah, they're in our DNA.
That's what I mean. Like, your roots are so embedded in ancestors. So you're not just here. Like, there's millions of reasons why you shouldn't be here. Yeah. That's the way. We've had a blinking pandemic.
I know.
Ensuring that we're not here. And we are here.
I know, which is beautiful.
And incredible humans have made that possible, that we got out of a pandemic and we did it safely. So when we need to pull together, we can pull together. We just need to find that camaraderie and that spirit back again, I think.
What a beautiful way to end it. Camaraderie and all together in spirituality. Nighat, thank you so much. I've loved our conversation.